Hello MASH Nation, it's Coach Nate coming live from MASH Performance post-work. Got a nice empty gym, so we have the good acoustics. We got Brett Hebig on the ones and twos helping us out here today. So a little bit more sophisticated than last year, but we're staying with stick figures from our learning standpoint. So bear with me while we do this. It's a one-take video. Again, we'll be doing a lot of these talks in person while you guys are attending your speed prep classes, as well as we'll be discussing this stuff on the turf all summer long. So this is just a beginning sample of what we'll be getting into. Slowing things down and getting an understanding of why we're doing things the way we are is the main focus here. And then following this, we'll shoot a quick video of the speed warm-up that you guys will receive as well. You should be doing that speed warm-up before speed class starts on your own time. People who do the speed warm-up, we see significant increases in running form compared to those who skip it or bypass it or breeze through it. So make sure we know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And when we get to speed class, we're gonna be ready to roll. So first off, we just kind of want to explain a couple positions. So the first thing we need to understand is that static position of athletic position. We teach that in the gym all the time, putting our hands on our knees like we're breathing heavy, sitting down in the hips. This is what we talk about when coaches say play at a low pad level. They're talking about being springy and loaded, getting ready to move, okay? So this is us staying static, okay? Now, most of our speed that we're gonna discuss is gonna happen with you considering that you are in a 10-yard circumference or 10-yard circle in your playing field. So if we imagine that, baseball diamond, sorry about the shape, basketball court, soccer field, football field, you have small areas that you're sharing with players, and it's about getting to those points in a 360-degree plane, going back pedal to sprint, shuffle, crossing over, running back downhill, and getting to those places as fast as we can, okay? So when we're doing speed work, we're really gonna focus a lot of that movement being as fast as we can within that space. As camp progresses, we start getting more multiplanar. So initially we're gonna talk about breaking things down and from a sprint to a deceleration, and then talking about lateral movement. And then as we progress, we're gonna start making it multiplanar and reactionary, incorporating hand-eye and foot-eye concepts. But we have to get the baseline understanding of these movements before we can progress them as coaches. So it's important that as a group, we're understanding these concepts and applying them and believing in them and asking questions. And if we have anything that we need to know or furtherly understand, getting into those things in real time, emailing, questioning, calling, texting, whatever you gotta do. The only exception to this would be our track athletes, where it's all about acceleration and maintaining speed, not really decelerating that often. And even if you consider that you're in a game, by the time you get within 7 to 8 steps down the field, you're just beginning to reach your top speed. You're usually breaking down and decelerating and changing direction. Even in baseball, as we're rounding bases, you're having to decelerate as you make that turn. Okay, so you're never really at top speed for the full potential that you could be at, like a 100-meter dash speed. As well as outfield if we're tracking things across, or if we're in basketball court and we're sprinting down the field or down the court. Again, this is not going to be something that you're actually truly at top speed for very long. But we will address it with number 3, because it is important to understand how to do that. It's important to, one, keep yourself safe when you're doing conditioning drills. Coaches may be running you a lot, so we will be teaching it. It's also healthy for us to train aerobically and to get our hamstrings stronger as well. So we'll bring into this when we're on the curve. It's important to understand and distinguish that when we're doing curve work, we're doing the treadmill work, that we're figuring that we're at top speed, and we'll talk about positions, okay? So let's go back to our static position. So we're starting at a 0, and then we are gonna launch into acceleration. Now typically you're gonna be taught 45 degrees of lean. It's okay to back off and get a little bit higher up if we're learning, so we can bring it back down. But the big factor here is as we lean forward, gravity is pulling us down, and we're recovering from that falling position and helping by creating internal forces to apply force into the ground and actually accelerate as fast as possible. And it's really important that we understand from shoulders through hips, we're gonna maintain a nice tall spine and keep our posture, okay? Another reason is that our spine sets our hips. And the higher that you can load that hip, the more distance you have to punch the ground. And in person, we talk about how we're punching things when we sprint. When we're accelerating, we're figuring that we're gonna hit something as hard as we can, put force through the ground, and then it's gonna repeat. So we like to talk about a lot of times in speed camp, what we see is we wait for people when they're not trained up, they're gonna touch the ground softly and then push. Or you're gonna have runners that the second they feel the ground, they're pulling off. So it's like we're not actually getting through our contact point and driving through the ground. And ground force is a big part of running in addition to posture and awareness. Okay, so we're going to be working that position a lot. Okay, and we'll talk about in our speed warm-up how this position gets learned, as well as the repetitions that we do in class. So we've accelerated, we're at top speed now. Same concept. You want to be aware that your spine is tall and we're not leaning or changing anything in our spine, but we have less lean. Typically you're going to be told about 3 to 5 degrees of lean is acceptable. So gravity is influencing you less, but our main focus is just not to stop ourselves. So we want our foot strike still underneath our hips, just like when we're sprinting. We want that foot contact point straight down, but now the stride length and the way that we're moving our leg changes a little bit. And we'll talk about that again in the warm-up. But your job is to not let that foot strike happen out in front, because then you're decelerating, okay? And that's what you're seeing with this guy. His step is out in front of his hips, and he's breaking back down similar to that static position, that athletic position. This is probably the hardest thing to get, because in order to be confidently breaking down ahead of your hips with as minimal steps as possible, you need to have, one, the amount of strength acceptable to do that from a fast position. You also need the confidence and the awareness in how to do that. So strengthening our legs, bringing awareness to that, again, drilling it is going to be really important at the start of camp, and we'll spend a lot of time decelerating and then reverse engineering back to acceleration. Okay, so understand that that's going to be a focus and buy into that concept. Okay, now if we focus on the arms, what our arms do for us is, besides creating more momentum for our legs and kind of helping our legs move as we get fatigued, it's also taking away ground forces. So if my foot hits the ground, my hip is going to want to travel with my foot as I pull back through. Okay, so your arm is going to come back from its backswing and center your hip so everything goes north-south the way you want it. So it's taking away ground forces and helping you maintain the position that you're trying to get to. So when we do this, we want to think a big backswing. Now there's different concepts in terms of how much arm bend you have. We're not going to overcoach those things. We're going to let you work through it. But the big thing we want to buy into is the elbow pulling back like you're elbowing somebody. If you do that with a loose shoulder, we fire back, that arm is going to backswing naturally. So that's just a reactionary force that happens after you pull through that big lat muscle to get your elbow to fly back. Okay? Now foot strike, a lot of times when we see people who are untrained in running, the path their foot takes as it hits the ground, really this is the most important part, again, where that wheel is touching. That's where the ground forces are being applied. And you'll see somebody who's untrained, their foot, if you look at the path, is kind of oval or circular shaped. So if I run and I get not up to 90 degrees, or even I'm at 45 and I extend through my foot, it's going to hit the ground out in front. I'm decelerating. I'm going to pull back through, overextend, again, circle through that position. Okay, so we don't want to see that. What we want to see is a really strong foot strike down through the ground, right? Pulling back through and then snapping back up. So if we change that position here, we bring that foot up again, we're pushing down, pulling back, and then it's going to snap up on its own. If we focus on this, this is going to happen the same way that your arm swing does. There's going to be a reactionary force that resets where we're supposed to be if our hips are set in the right angle. Even if we're in acceleration position and we're hitting underneath our hips, same idea. So we really should see more of like a triangle where we're focusing on the arrows, and this is going to snap back up for us. So as we push through the ground, we're punching, pulling back, and then snapping back up. Even if I'm in a lean at 45 degrees, we're punching, pushing back, snapping back up as we go, okay? So a lot of these things we're going to drill and we're going to be aware of. That's the big part of this. And the speed warm-up is going to resell and teach you those positions. That's why it's important that we're doing it, okay? So we'll stop here for the lecture, and we'll talk about this stuff consistently again, and this is going to be just about repetition of hearing, asking questions, making the information your own, digging in, doing your own research, asking us questions on what you find, and we'll get into the same page and what we're trying to do with this stuff, okay? Speed warm-up. We're going to go through what each one of these, where it applies, 1, 2, 3, 4, or static, acceleration, top speed, or deceleration. There's not going to be too much deceleration in this right away. So seated arm swings and half kneeling arm swings. When we go to the ground, If your hamstrings are tight, you can bend your knees, but we're really bringing awareness again to those shoulders and hips being in alignment, nice tall spine. And we're gonna fire those elbows back, relaxing through our shoulders. And when we're on the ground, we can't extend our elbows, so we can't get any of that wasted movement. So we're just gonna find the bend that feels right. We're gonna pull back through our elbows. We're staying loose. I should be able to breathe and talk in this position still. And we're gonna go for 15 seconds as fast as you can with those considerations. Then we're gonna stand up into a half kneeling. Your hips have more wiggle now, so it's important that we're staying strong and tight in the hips, but we're still thinking nice tall spine, but we can get into a little bit of a more of a lean here. But we're going to have the same idea. Fast elbows back, controlling through our arms, visualizing that we're accelerating or at top speed, okay? From this position, half kneeling hip flexion, we're gonna maintain again that tall spine. We're gonna bring our knee up off the ground. As we do this, we wanna try to avoid leaning away from it or letting our spine change its shape. We're gonna see a lot of people pull down or sit back. Make sure that you're tall and tight and just working that hip flexion coming up past 90, okay? So if you see your repetitions, we're only going one set through each of these. 15 seconds with the arm swing, half kneeling. Again, arm swings, acceleration and top speed, half kneeling hip flexion, we're doing with acceleration and top speed as well, just bringing awareness to positioning. Okay, so next, band resisted dead bugs. We just find a band off the rack. We're gonna tie it to the rack. And I'm actually gonna give you a side view here so you can see what I'm talking about. But we're gonna stay nice and tall like we're at top speed. We're gonna pull that band down to fire out our lats, make sure that our core is engaged. We're gonna bring our knee up to 90 degrees, toe up, bring this heel off the ground, and just like our top speed movement, we wanna extend straight down and pull back, stopping right as we switch. So it's controlled, but explosive if you can get it. Okay? Explosive, strong movements, really engaging that core, visualizing top speed. The next two are gonna focus on acceleration, and then we're coming back to top speed maintenance again, okay? So acceleration drill 1, wall sprint, you're not actually gonna be able to get your foot strike underneath your hips because you're on a wall, you're static. So we're looking at creating awareness from our hips to our shoulders, driving our knee to 90 degrees, and then we're gonna hold on 3. So 1, 2, 3, hold. Again, judging, did I bring my chest down? Did I lean back? Am I at 90? Is my toe up? So we're having that pause to make sure that we know that we're in the right spot. After we get that, we're gonna make it dynamic, same idea. So we're gonna go to a sled. We're unloaded for a reason. We don't need to put weight on this thing. It's just a warm up, and we're trying to just use the sled to take away gravity so we can focus on technique. So I'm gonna get into my 45-degree lean just like we were doing on the wall sprint, but now my foot can come down and punch right underneath my hips like we're asking you to do as you extend back through that strong core position. No arms right now, so we're just focusing on lower half. So rather than running with it, working on that punch. Again, driving that sled down and through the hip, resetting that hip to 90 degrees. After that, we're doing the sled glute walk. You're gonna have the straps holding behind your back. Now we're at top speed, so we're only gonna get that 3-degree lean. Nice tall spine, core tight, pulling through our hips. Visualizing top speed as we go. So again, seeing where you're supposed to be with these things is really important. So next ones. Ten of the dead bugs, 30 of the holds on 3, 20 yards sled marching, 20 yards sled glute marching twice through. Static B steps, toe, heel, high knees. We're at top speed with the static B steps. We are focusing both acceleration and top speed with the toe, heel, high knees, as well as starting to bring our arms into the movement. So for static B steps, you're gonna get into that 3-degree lean, we're gonna get to that 90 degrees, and now without hitting the ground, we're gonna go straight down to the ground and pull through our hips without anything changing. So if setting our hips, pull through, thinking that triangle, snap through the hips. Okay, for 10 times each side. Toe, heel, high knees. For 10 seconds, we're gonna develop rhythm and cadence from our knee bend and our foot plantar flexion, just getting that toe up. So just like we're running, beginning to do a high knee. So elbows and knees are gonna develop rhythm, whatever rhythm you can get to in 10 seconds. If it feels choppy or you feel like you're not in the right spot, slow it down. Once we like where we are, we're gonna maintain that cadence and continue to do high knees traditionally like we normally would for 10 yards. But again, understanding where it fits is more important than doing the movement. You wanna do it right, but you also wanna visualize that you got your arms and your knees and your hips and your spine is tall, and we're focused on getting straight down to the ground. Last thing is a hip stretch. This is not really applied to our running form, but we do want to get our hips mobile, so we're going to do a couple stretches. After we get through this, there's stretches in the workouts, in the speed work. So I'm going to go down to the ground to demonstrate all these. First is the pendulums. We're going to go wide with our hands to create a base, get our feet and our knees together, and we're swinging side to side as far as we can comfortably. Anytime we're stretching, we want to focus on breathing. Coach Martin will be talking a lot about this stuff, but as just a general observation, if you can't talk or you're in pain or you can't find a good clean range of motion, cut it off or get a coach, but we should be able to just get a nice fluid swing side to side. From here, you can walk your foot out as far as you want to on this if you're not feeling the stretch, but wherever you set, you're going to bring your heel on top of the knee. As we rotate down, we're going to pull through our knee with this top leg to assist the stretch. So we're going to lean over, pull through. Should be feeling the stretch through the side of the IT band and TFL or the glute. Anywhere within this region is fine. If you're feeling pain in your knee or you're feeling that stabbing sensation, again, get a coach. The last one is sprinter stretch. We're going to go down like we fell over from a lunge position. Your front leg is on the outside knee. Your backside leg is on the inside knee. And we are going to twist, turn, and we're going to use this hand to crawl away and reach as far as we can. You can feel this through your lat and your side of your torso. I'll give you another angle. And still be able to breathe through these positions, guys. So we're going through that whole stretch series twice. Again, this is on the whiteboard. We'll send it and attach it to the email, sets, reps, and names. But we're expecting you to know this and be able to ask questions about where it's applying by the time speed camp starts. So make sure that we're buying in. Make sure you're getting in once a week to do it with your coaches. Make sure that you are doing the speed prep that we provide for you when you come in. We'll have another segment on that later on. And then we will also have next week a video talking about recovery, sleep, hydration, things that factor into speed camp success. So appreciate you guys watching the video. Again, don't be afraid to reach out, email, call, text, whatever you gotta do. Thanks, guys.